Welcome to On the Beat, where we bring you a different Buffalo Bills beat reporter every week, exclusively on the Overreaction Sports Network.
Well, what is going on, everybody? Welcome everybody into On the Beat on the Overreaction Sports Network, powered by Believe, a show where we bring you a different, as we said, or I should say, as Bruce Nolan said, a different Buffalo Bills beat reporter every single week. And this week we have Jerry Ostrowski. No, that's
hey, what's going on?
Jerry got a new job. No, we will be joined here shortly, momentarily, by Muki Hawkins from WUFO, WUFO 1080 Sports 1080. We're excited to have him. But my name is Joe Miller, as everybody here probably knows, and you can find me on Twitter at Joe Miller Wired. And the guy sitting right next to me, former Buffalo Bill offensive lineman for the Buffalo Bills, Jerry Ostrowski. You can find Jerry on Twitter at Ostrowski_Big O. And we are excited that you guys are here joining us. Please do us a favor. Please like, please subscribe. Whatever platform you are consuming this video on right now live, whether it's Facebook, YouTube, or X, Twitter, please like, please subscribe. And if you're listening to this in post as a podcast on what would be Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, somewhere around there, as we get ready for another preseason exhibition game, tongue-tied there, against the Panthers, please also like, subscribe, and tell a friend. So let's you and me get started as we wait for Mooki. Let's hit real quick the injuries.
Sounds good.
Yeah, there's been a lot of reports that have come out of camp, or I should say out of practice today, just in regards to injuries. Good things, some good news, some kind of like not great news, and then just kind of more of the same. I speculated with Pat. I was on Pat Moran's Talking Buffalo show yesterday, and he was talking about just all the injuries. And I was like, we don't know how much of these injuries or which of these injuries are potentially just, they're just taking it slow with guys. They're being precautionary, right? Obviously some of them are serious. MBS with a sprained neck is not a fun injury. And we know some of the other ones. We know that Mitch Trubisky, it was reported today by Alex Brasky that he wasn't able to bend his knee, which is not a great sign. Right. But what have you heard as far as just what have you read just around Twitter? What are you hearing as far as just injuries wise?
Well, just obviously we have a lot of them, right? I mean, It's something we're dealing with. We've dealt with it since the start of camp. Some guys have gotten basically zero camp time.
Yeah.
A guy like Travis Clayton, also Mike Edwards, zero camp time. Cole Bishop comes back today, full participant in positional drills, no contact.
Yeah, red contact jersey.
Which would lead me to believe that, they talk about the possible shoulder fracture in the scapula. Would make sense with no movement for a little bit to try to let that thing set and start to heal. Now I can come back, be a participant moving around, but still is not going to take contact on it. I would say probably not looking good for the week 1 game. I would say maybe 2, probably more along the lines of week 3 or 4, because he plays a highly physical position. Hamlin, of course, with a hamstring, worked on the sidelines with trainers. No participants. Edwards was out riding the bike, doing a few things. Curtis Samuel, the turf toe. Obviously, we know that's going to linger. And then also Quentin Morris, who they have listed with a calf, which is kind of opposite of what some outlets were putting out recently.
Different part of the body.
Yes. In the world of, some outlets were saying in the world of hockey terms, an upper body injury. But now the Sabres are reporting it's a lower body injury. So we'll have to wait and see on that. Spector, of course, with the calf, also working with trainers, no uniform.
Yeah.
And also Austin Johnson, Javon Solomon had calves. I guess it seems if John was on, he would laugh, because there is an injury every year, and it's usually like a weird one.
Right.
It always comes up, and you're like, why the hell do we have 15 of these, right?
Calf injuries.
This year it seems to be the dreaded calf injury. And then, of course, Nicholas Morrow, groin, core, which would lead me to believe when they say core/groin, that can also be what they call, if you ever heard of the term sports hernia.
Oh, yeah.
that's what that could be. And that's an extremely painful deal. And that's something you got to really, really grind through. And it does not get better until you have surgery. So that is the full list that Alex Brasky put out today on Twitter as far as the latest on Tuesday with Buffalo's injuries.
Yeah, and welcome to everybody that's joined us in the chat. Richard Rush, Karen Idzik, Tracy Fichter, John Robert, and Joey Hatch. Welcome, and appreciate you guys joining us. Backing up, I talked about this. I don't know if you and I talked about it on the post-game show. I feel like I talked about it with Pat yesterday. How in the world is Cole Bishop going to be ready to play in the NFL? There's no way, even if his shoulder is healed week 1, he's definitely going to short-term IR, right? Just to get him up to, I mean, how do you get a guy up to speed? He's not even played in a preseason game as a rookie. Like,
I don't know. I mean, I think Bishop was making strides early. I'm sure he's taking all the mental reps that he can get, and I'm sure he's in the middle of, they probably have a script in his hand, and he's behind the huddle, and he's watching everything that's happening. I think you'll see him start to really come forth towards the latter half of the season, the middle of the latter half, as he starts getting more and more comfortable with it. But I do believe, other than some of the intricacies of what Bobby Babbitt Jr. and McDermott are doing with the defense as far as coverages and such, I think he'll pick it up. That's one position I think, and he seems to be a pretty cerebral kid. I think that's one position that he'll pick it up a little quicker than maybe some others.
But where does the speed come into play? Because we hear about college speed, and then we hear about training camp speed, and then we hear about preseason speed, and then we hear about NFL, it's Sunday, regular season speed. And then obviously the playoffs, I think, even tick up a little bit more into and then into the, the show. So I mean, isn't there a measure of holy smokes, that was fast, right? I mean, I don't know how he acclimates. Is right? I guess is what I'm trying to ask.
Well, nobody acclimates until they get in the games, and even the preseason games,
there's a ramp up.
Yeah, but even the preseason games are much slower than a regular season game.
Yeah. But even Keon Coleman said it today in his presser. They asked him what's going on, or what's the mental whatever, and he said it's the speed. Literally, that was his answer. It's the speed, like the speed of the game.
Right. The speed of the game is different. And I think that it's still, and Keon's going to learn even when they play week 1 at home against the Cardinals. That speed is like nothing he's seen in the preseason.
Right.
So, I mean, I think a lot of it is, and it's why it's kind of, I wouldn't say maddening, but, I would say it's probably why McDermott is so hesitant on playing rookies.
Right.
I've always been a firm believer, it's like kind of how the nuns taught me how to swim at the Salvation Army when I was a kid, right? They took me to the deep end and they dropped me, right? And I was either going to come back up or I wasn't. And somebody would save me if I didn't. Now, I was a big boy back then too, so of course, bobbed right back up to the top. But you catch my drift, right? I mean, you don't learn and you don't grow unless you face adversity, and you got to get out there and see it. I mean, it's part of it. It's baptism by fire. I mean, you got to do it.
Right. Yeah, for sure. So I guess what is the of that list that you just went through from Alex, from the Batavia Daily News, and of the reports that you heard, which ones probably give you the most, oh, thank God, right? Versus it's all, because it's not all bad, but which ones are, it's like, okay, that's a little bit of it's got to be the safety position, right?
Yeah. I mean, I'm a little bit stressed out about the safety spot. I mean, obviously, you have the Cole Bishop injury. We haven't seen Mike Edwards at all.
No.
I guess you could say the best thing about that is the fact that he has games under his belt, has played in the league. You would expect him to acclimate a little bit quicker than others. Obviously, I was happy to see that Javon Solomon, that was minor, and he was a full participant, because I really do believe he's going to help this football team.
Right.
I really do. I think if you watched the preseason game against the Pittsburgh Steelers, the Bills kind of want to utilize him as maybe a mini Von Miller, okay? They have similar skill sets.
Okay.
Of course, Von is bigger, but still, they kind of play the same way. And I think that even Solomon's probably a little bit twitchier. Plays, if you watch Von's a very smooth athlete.
Right,
he sets a lot of stuff up. He can rush, he can hesitate rush, he can duck unders, things like that. Solomon plays a little bit quicker, but he's going to learn all those things from watching Vaughn. But I think that I was very happy to see that as well, the fact that he's there. And then, of course, the head scratcher is all of a sudden now Damar Hamlin's on this list.
Yeah.
And when Mooki comes on with us, and by the way, if you tuned in to the On the Beat show, expecting to see Mooki, he'll be on here in a few minutes.
Yes.
He needed some time, and I want to kind of hit him up with that question. You start to wonder, does that put him in peril again? Teetering on that line of number 52, 53, or 54, 55.
Yeah, when you go through this list of just injuries and the evaluations, I don't even know what they're doing for evaluations for so many of these guys.
Right.
And we wanted to talk to Mooki about that as well, specifically in the wide receiver room. With Josh Allen has played a series and a half, and I think he threw 3 passes, right? Completed 2. It's how do you evaluate some of these dudes? But when you look at these injuries, and Mike Edwards is the big one that stands out because obviously he was a free agent signing. He does have film and he has a track record, and there's an expectation of what he can do, but they just can't see him. He can't get himself on the football field, even to practice. But Damar Hamlin, as far as safety, it's just linebacker. These just aren't great positions for us to be struggling with from an
but I'm not stressed about Josh. I mean, if I was Joe Brady, the first thing I do, probably my first 2 plays of the game would be quarterback runs.
Yeah.
Just let him get beat around a little bit. I know that's
I'm not worried about Josh either. There was a feeling last year clearly from coach, which was why he was going to play Josh. First preseason game, second preseason game, potentially the third preseason game, going to the Jets game last year, the first game, because Josh didn't play the third preseason game.
Right.
And he had the 2 weeks off. And now you're looking at him having 4 weeks, 5 weeks off before he actually plays like a real NFL snap. It's just, I'm not worried about Josh either. Right. But there's something to be said for going out there. You can speak to it. The Jim Kelly K-Gun days. I lived in Florida as a high school kid. I got to go to 1 preseason game every single year, and it was Jim Kelly and you boys. You'd go straight down the field, get off the field, like straight to the field, touchdown, and you're done.
But here's the thing about that, Joe, and this is the one area, and I'm going to get into this because there is one area that I'm a little bit iffy about.
Okay,
and that is wide receiver quarterback timing. Knowing where guys should be and all that. I mean, we do have a whole ton of new wide receivers.
A ton of them.
But when you look at the K-Gun back when Jim played, and I was there towards the end of it, we didn't have a bunch of new faces.
No.
Okay? You had the same tight ends. You had the same running back.
That's right.
You had the same wide receivers. You had the same – I mean, you added a piece here and there like a Molds or – somebody like that, or you change a couple of linemen, but in general, the engine of the thing was the exact same. It was the big 3, right?
Yep.
It was Jim, it was Thurman, it was Andre. And that's where, and I tell this story all the time, and it's like the preseason that we decided to go to more of a true pro set offense with Cardell Gardner.
That's right.
Cardell Garwell.
Carwell Gardner. Yeah, the C-gun.
Fullback, right? And we practiced that from OTAs and mini camp all the way until the 3rd preseason game of the season in Denver. And we're getting some heat from the media about the offense, of course.
Right.
My good friend that I saw at Jim Kelly's gala and golf tournament this past, last week, Vic Carucci was one of the main guys. He's like, this offense ain't very good, right? So we go to Denver, and we go out and run 2 drives and lay an egg, and we come into the huddle for the 3rd drive, and here comes Carwell, and Jim sends him right back out of the huddle and gets pro personnel, and we go K-Gun, and 5 plays later we score a touchdown. And everybody's like, well, I guess we're going back to run the K-Gun. And everybody went off the field, and we didn't play another snap the rest of the game. So it was just different. I mean, we had all those guys that were in the middle of it and were used to it. You got a new OC.
Yeah.
I know he took half the season last year, but he's now new. He's bringing in his concepts. whole new room of wide receivers, right?
Yep.
So if I do have a spot or a place where I'm a little bit worried, it would be that timing between the receivers and Josh, knowing where guys are. But the thing that makes me at ease a little bit, Joe, is that I think our tight ends are that good.
Oh, yeah.
And early in the year, I think Kincaid's going to be that guy.
He's going to eat. Everybody eats, especially Dalton Kincaid.
Yes.
When you look at just the situation, now the Buffalo Bills brought in a quarterback replacement in Anthony Brown for Mitch Trubisky, who is injured currently. And we don't know necessarily what the status of Mitch Trubisky is going to be. There's been no real kind of information given to us outside of just the report today that he can't bend his knee.
Right.
I'm hard pressed to think that Anthony Brown or Ben DiNucci are throwing 20 passes Saturday, like together, combined 20 passes. I think it's going to be handoff fest. Literally, Frank Gore Jr. is going to play 3/4 of this football game with the third and fourth string offense. This whole training camp preseason has been wildly bizarre, and it just continues to get more bizarre. I don't know what your thoughts are about the new kid.
I actually really like the signing.
Yeah,
because I'm the proponent of. I think that Anthony Brown, he was with the Ravens a little bit, has a little bit of movement to him, can make plays, has a big arm. I like that type of guy as my backup quarterback because if he comes in and maybe he's not quite as experienced as a starter, he's a guy that can make plays, right? If things break down, he can make plays. And while I think that we're going to see him this weekend, he's going to play, and I think he'll be somewhat effective. But I like that. I mean, if I was going to have a backup on my team, if I was general manager, I would have a guy like him. I think he's going to be fine. Yes, granted, that playbook will be shrunk down hugely. I'm sure DiNucci's now is much more further along. But yeah, I have no issues with Anthony Brown, and I actually really like that signing by Brandon Beane.
I'm looking for Anthony Brown's career stats, which it doesn't seem like he's got.
Well, I will say this. This is the only stat that I need to see from our friend John Robert. Anthony Brown is fast. He's a 4.35 guy in the 40. That's all I need to see.
That's fast.
That's it. Thank you. Game done.
So I felt like I saw him in a Raiders jersey. So maybe he ended up on a practice squad someplace or whatever, but his only stats are from 2022. Baltimore. He played in 2 games. It looks like he was 22. He had 22 completions on 49 attempts, 44% completion percentage for 302 yards, 2 interceptions, no touchdowns. He was sacked 5 times. That's not great, especially I don't care how fast you are. You can't get sacked 5 times. So obviously developmental potentially. I wonder. I mean, is he? I wonder if he's just here for this game, right? Which you could probably speak. How hard is it? Just you just roll with it? Is it you roll with the punches, or is it
possibly so, Joe? But now with the quarterback rule and the fact you can put him on the practice squad and bring him up as a third, to me, it's a non. There's no risk. There's no risk in this signing. There's no. There's no bad side to it. I mean, if you feel that Ben DiNucci is definitely your backup quarterback, which I think we'll see more of this week, and I think it'll be a little bit clearer. We'll get a little bit more definitive answer when he plays this week in Charlotte or against Charlotte. But it's like, if they don't think that DiNucci is the guy, then you let DiNucci go and bring, you wait and see who gets cut.
Right.
And then bring a guy in, because I don't see a problem keeping Anthony Brown around as a third guy.
Yeah, that's my question. So Kyle Allen is most likely getting cut from the Pittsburgh Steelers. So is this a situation where Kyle Allen ends up back on this roster? Trubisky is IR settlement and gone, right? And then, Anthony Brown is gone. So just so everybody knows, the Buffalo Bills depth chart at the moment, as of Tuesday evening at 8:21 p.m., their depth chart has not been updated. So Anthony Brown is not on this depth chart. So it still has Trubisky is 2, Ben DiNucci is 3. That's, I guess, a question too. So you got to feel, probably due to time with the system, a whole 5 extra days that Ben DiNucci's probably going to start this football game, right?
Yeah, I mean, and that's what he's here for. He
Yeah.
should be able to. He should be able to start this football game, and he should be able to be. Am I going to say Josh Brown like or Josh Allen like? No, but he should be able to be somewhat effective.
Yeah.
I mean, there's enough stuff. He's had enough time. I understand that and this is something I want people to understand. I understand that playbooks are different.
Yeah. Yeah.
I understand terminology is different.
Yeah.
But in retrospect, a lot of this stuff is the same.
Mm.
If you watch a lot of times, you'll see a guy come in as an offensive coordinator, and he will change his terminology to the terminology of the guy that was before him because that's what everybody knows. And they'll use the same terminology but run the new guy's stuff. So, Brady being around with Dorsey, I'm sure that Brady did not change the nomenclature of what was going on.
Right. Right.
He used the same terminology and just made his stuff fit. And I wouldn't doubt if he doesn't do the same thing. So basically what I'm trying to say is, even though DiNucci's new, a lot of the concepts are very much what he's probably run elsewhere. Unless we go out and we're running option out of the shotgun, which we're not.
No.
Stuff is very similar.
It just turns into skill level at that point, how well it can be executed with the talent that you've got as an individual.
Right.
Real
quick, and it goes back to what I said earlier, and you made the same stress on this. But what is different is the timing and knowing what your guys are good and not good at, and where they'll be and where they won't be.
Well, the funny part, I wanted to transition, but to wrap up on that, and we're 21 minutes into the show, 22 minutes in. I don't know if Mooki is going to make it or not. So apologies to everybody that may have tuned in or is tuning in for Muki Hawkins from WUFO Sports 1080, who was supposed to be with us. He's not here at the moment, and we're obviously hoping he shows up. But if he can't make it, I'm sure hopefully everything's okay. Anyway, one of the things, the first question that was posed to Keon Coleman today, this is where my mind went, was coach announced that the starters are not playing in this third preseason game. And I was like, is Keon a starter? Because he was playing into the third quarter. Right. In this last football. And if Curtis Samuel isn't playing, which he's not, he's injured. So you got Khalil's not going to play, right? Mac Collins is not going to play. So the other starters, Curtis Samuel. So is Keon playing in this football game? Thoughts?
Yeah, well, there's no doubt. I think Keon plays most of the game.
Oh, interesting.
I think you've got Keon, you've got Shorter. You've got Isabella. You got a lot of, you got enough guys.
Shavers, KJ Hamler, which by the way brought up an interesting point on just from a bubble conversation. I feel like Daquan Hardy may have bumped KJ Hamler off this roster.
Very well could have. But this is a game, and we've talked all this time, in the weeks prior to this about everybody's love affair with Shavers.
Yeah.
This is the opportunity for him to come out and show that he deserves to be on the football team.
Yes, absolutely.
And then I also look at guys like Buffalo Joe, right? I look at Joe Andreessen. I did not think, and it did not shock me, even if he said some of the starters are going to play some, they might have Terrell Bernard bubble wrapped in the locker room.
They do.
And they're not letting him see the light of day until it's week 1, right? So he's going to have another opportunity to do what he did last week. I think he'll have 12 tackles? I don't know. But do I think he'll be effective and just as good? Yeah. You're going to see Williams a ton as well.
I don't think you're going to see Williams.
You don't think?
He's the starting linebacker.
They say starters, but they're starters, which
this is a bizarre on preseason,
right? But let me. Okay, I look at it like the mafia, right? They're starters, which are made men. Okay, Josh Allen's a made man, right?
Dalton Kincaid at this point
is a made man. Yeah. Ed Oliver, made man. Right?
Deion Dawkins, made man.
Yeah, right. Daquan Jones, made man.
Right.
And then you got the young bucks coming up trying to become, they're trying to earn enough to prove that they should be in the mafia to begin with.
Right.
And be capos, right?
Right.
So where do so is it veteran starters or all starters, right? I would be Now somebody said earlier in the chat, and like I said, we appreciate you in the chats. Thank you for the information. I know a lot of people see stuff that we don't see, so when you put it up there, it helps us.
Yeah.
They said Ulafosio participated today.
Yep.
Is he healthy enough to play on in this next preseason game? I don't know. If he is, he can take a lot of reps away from Williams because he plays that same spot. You got Jones as well. He can do some things. So, you have all that stuff, but that's starters. Which ones are we talking about?
Yeah, for sure. And right now, it looks like Mookie was wrapping up football practice, which is why he was running a little bit late. Mook, how are you?
I'm good. As you just said, yeah, I'm football practice.
Yeah. Well, we're glad to have you for a couple more minutes. If you've got 5 minutes or so just to spend with us. I think what we're really excited and kind of interested in knowing is probably first about Anthony Brown, what you saw. And I think the question I have is why Anthony Brown instead of somebody else? Why was he the guy the Bills targeted?
Well, if you go back to Anthony Brown from his days at Oregon, the Bills need a mobile guy. We cannot have pocket passers. That's not Joe's Brady scheme, right? So we need guys that has mobility, to keep the playbook the way it is in the event that Josh Allen can't go, right? So you want to bring a guy in that fits the mold, that keeps your offense to offense. And, for what quarterbacks are out there right now, Anthony Brown is the guy. I wouldn't mind, if we can pull Cam Newton off the couch, but, I'm not mad at the Anthony Brown pickup.
Do you feel like Anthony Brown is potentially gonna, like, if Kyle Allen gets cut from the Steelers and the Bills, do you feel like there's a swap coming? Do you think Anthony Brown potentially is going to stick on this practice squad?
I'd rather have Anthony Brown. Kyle Allen is a pocket passer.
Agreed.
We need guys that's going to be able to use their legs. You know what I mean? We don't have guys other than Josh Allen that can use their legs. I don't know if Mitch Trubisky has regressed by the looks of it. It kind of look like that. But yeah, we need guys that can, this is a passing league, but the quarterbacks have to be a little bit more mobile these days, right? So I'm more having, more athletic style quarterbacks to keep the offense. And again, it's this competition for QB number 3 at least, because Michelle's going to be out, and Danucci and Brown is going to have to swap it out for QB 3 at least. Right now, maybe even 2 if we don't know how long that Mitch is going to be out, right? So you're going to get those 2 guys on Saturday, and may the best guy win. It's going to be a lot of competition battles, heading into this week's matchup. So I'm excited to see it.
Mookie, I agree with you 100%. I felt the same way about the Brown signing. I thought that it gives us a different look. It gives you a guy that can come in and make plays, running the ball as well as throwing the ball and all that stuff. What I will ask you is this: why then did they go with Danucci first and then bring Brown in after the latest injury? Why did they just go straight to Brown?
Yeah, I was with that too. Like, they bringing Danucci in. But, I'm no general manager. I'm no scout. So, some familiarity within, but, we'll see. We'll definitely see. Obviously, the play from Danucci prompted them to bring in. Well, I can't say that because Trubisky went down. But, again, we'll get a fair evaluation of Danucci and Brown this week to really see who's going to really cut it at QB3.
Mookie, Joe and I had a talk before you got on with us, and we appreciate you making the time. I've coached youth sports, and I understand the time constraints. So thanks for joining us. But we had a talk.
Practice over with now, so
we believe me, we deal with John Fina with this as well. He's always at practices also. But when you look at when McDermott says the starters are not going to play, are we talking the quote-unquote made men like the Kincaids and Allens of the world, and we'll see somebody like Williams? Or does he mean all starters?
For the most part, all starters. You'll see your rookies out there. But for the most part, we can't afford to lose a starter, because of the last preseason game. And I know everybody want to see him that first quarter at least, because to be honest, those guys, they need to get, work on chemistry, having some sort of game time reps, if you will, but coach is taking the precautionary method because, hey, he's losing guys. And see how he was with Josh. It rained. And he said, no way Josh is going out there, right? So,
right.
And then, you're still dealing with guys that's getting injured. So, rather be safe than sorry. You don't want to lose no more starters, especially for the remainder of the season because of the last preseason game. Because somebody else get hurt, then everybody going to be like, oh, why McDermott started them and all of that, right? So, damned if you do, damned if you don't. At the end of the day, he keeps his guys safe, and, they'll be ready to go come week 1.
Yeah. So was there, I don't know if I missed it in the pressers today. I'm sure that you were there, you were present. Was there an indication given as to who's going to start the game, DiNucci or Brown?
Well, it looks like it's going to be DiNucci. I mean, obviously, because, he played, he has some familiarity with the playbook right now. Anthony Brown is getting a lot of things thrown at him to see what he can retain right now. And, but he's going to definitely have his fair share to, showcase his talent for sure. But, DiNucci's getting the start, and Anthony Brown will back him up probably in the second half. So you probably see DiNucci first half, and you'll see Brown in the second half. So we'll get a fair assessment of these guys and who's going to be the backup. But the guys are getting practice reps. The ones are, it's not like those guys is hanging to the side or whatever the case. Practice is practice. The ones are still getting quality reps right now, but that's it. They won't get no game day reps.
Mookie and Muki Hawkins joins us, WUFO Sports. And I have to ask you, Mookie, when you're waiting for the pressers to start or you're on the sidelines of practice, talking amongst the other reporters and hearing different things, is there kind of a unwritten timetable right now for Cole Bishop? We know that he came back today, went through drills, but no contact. Any sort of info you can give us on that as well?
Cole Bishop will probably be ready week 1. If he's, he's out there, getting back in the swing of things, nothing's to be rushed. They're trying to get him ready to roll week 1 right now, so.
Has there been more clarity on what his shoulder injury actually was? Was it a separation? Was it a tear? Was it a break? Has there been any comment?
Yeah, maybe more of a strain than anything. Guy ain't gonna come back, off a tear, this quick,
right,
or a sort of separation that quickly. So, my guessing that it was probably a strain, if anything. And the Bills, any type of little injury, they are shutting you down. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah, they shut Javon Solomon down. He's okay. He a little nick calf injury. Oh, you're done. You're out. And it just seems like it sounds so harsh once they, they say he's out for the remainder of the game. It's like, oh my God, like what's wrong with you? But at the end of the game, you see him trotting off the field. So just precautions. Right now, coach is taking real precautionary measures because hell, shit, he's dealing with a lot of injuries right now, and it's probably the first time he's ever really dealt with this in the preseason setting, so, to have lose Milano, that was just it. That was just like, what? It's time to be precautious. He's rather be safe than sorry. It's a long season. So, if anybody that could get on track during the season, we all know that this Bills team can. They were able to put together, 7 straight wins when they had to, when their back was up against the wall, and they didn't have all their complete team at that time. So if any team that could do that is definitely this Bills team.
Yeah. Mookie, kind of your assessment, maybe what you're hearing from others amongst the administration, whatever, your assessment on Keon Coleman's progression so far in camp, and obviously maturity level wise, he's well beyond his years. I thought it was his answer this week or yet today about the catch that he didn't make on the slant. He just blatantly called it a drop. What are your assessments of his on the field progression as we move towards week 1?
Well, I would love to see him and Josh. Him and Josh hasn't been able to connect in preseason settings. So, we'll just have to wait to see how that's going to really shake out during, the regular season. But, I do. Keon Coleman is definitely, well mature beyond his years. And I told everybody first that he is a Dez Bryant competent. Josh come right out and give everybody that notion. So, yeah.
Yep. Yep.
And
You
so
and go ahead.
if it's kind of like a gift and a curse that we didn't see Josh to Coleman connection. So now teams don't have no type of tape on that right now. They just have to wait and see till week one, how he likes to throw to Coleman. So it's a lot of things that, we didn't get the opportunity to see a preseason. We're just going to have to wait, till, the home opener versus the Cardinals to see how Joe Brady is going to unleash things. I do like how they was able to establish the run. I mean, we know that we're going to be able to throw the ball all over the yard whenever he decides to. But we got to be able to run the ball efficiently as well.
Talking with Muki Hawkins for a couple more minutes from WUFO Sports 1080. Muki, you and I were on the golf course at the Ponchos Army Golf Tournament, and you were the one that was telling me, like, straight up, Matt Collins is the real deal, and he's like, he is going to make this team, and he's going to be a starter for Josh Allen, and all of that has kind of come through. The question I have is just more about what are you seeing in practice that tells you how they're evaluating the other wide receivers on this roster when it comes to, Shavers and KJ Hamler and Justin Shorter? What are they doing to get true evaluations on this guy when your starting quarterback played for one quarter, threw 3 passes, and only had 2 completions?
Yeah, it's kind of hard to really get a gauge on those guys, but at the end of the day, the Bills know their skill set. That's why they brought them in, to have a say on this roster. So they kind of have an idea on how they trying to use those guys. Mm-hmm. So even though that Josh Allen isn't out there, they still got to be out there making plays for the next guy, right? So they kind of have an idea on who's who and what's what and how things is going to shake out. I mean, I was high on Claypool. The toe injury kind of, pushed him to the wrong way of the table there, the wrong way of the cycle, and the business part kicks in on him. You got Marquez Valdez-Scantling out with a sprained neck, so not sure how long that's going to be. So that elevates a guy like Shavers. That elevates a guy like Hamler. That elevates a guy like Shorter. And then we already know Matt Collins. He's in the sauce already. So, it elevates those guys. And then, hey, the Bills not done. Bean is always ready to make this roster, the best roster he could possibly make it. So, there's been some Corey Davis rumblings, I guess, out there. So we'll just see how things shake out. After this week, the Bills are not done bringing in players by far.
Yeah.
By far. So, we know how this business go. A guy can get cut. One man's trash is the next man's treasure.
Yep.
And, we know how that works with the Bills on how they develop their guys. So, I think right now, Shavers is playing well in preseason. Hamlin is solid. Hamler is definitely going to make his kick on special teams. We know Hardy had a great Saturday on returning punts. So, right now that battle I say is Hardy and Hamler on the kickoff. And then the punt. So we got some good battles going into this week versus the Panthers.
Yeah, for sure. Mookie, thank you so much. Coach Muki Hawkins and Buffalo Bills beat reporter, thank you so much for spending a couple minutes with us. It's always great to have you on the program. Jerry, any final questions for Mookie before I get us out of here?
No, we're good.
Awesome. Excellent. Mookie, thank you so much. Go ahead.
I wasn't playing golf. Me and Ruben Brown, we was playing renegade golf.
You guys are driving around in the golf cart trying to run people over. Yeah.
We were just picking our own holes. Well, the hole looked good to play at. We just put the ball down and we played renegade. And, we had a few first downs out there. We scored a few touchdowns. And we kicked a few field goals. I'll let you know the rules next time we play.
Yeah, I know the rules, Mookie.
I know you know, Jerry.
That's hysterical. Well, you can find all of Mookie's content on Twitter at WUFO Sports. That is Muki Hawkins, Buffalo Bills beat reporter and head football coach. For where are you coaching at, Mookie?
Man, I'm double dipping, man. I coach at Health Science Charter School. We've won 2 Class B championships. It was 4 out of the past 5 years at Health Science. And then I coach Corey Graham's Elite, his youth football program. I coached Corey Graham when he was 12. So, he started his program here, and I'm helping the 12s. My 12-year-old has a scholarship right now. I have a running back who's 5'8", 190 pounds, 12 years old.
Wow.
Offered a market already.
Mookie knew NIL before NIL was cool.
That's right. Right.
Awesome. Excellent. Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for tuning in to On the Beat on the Overreaction Sports Network, powered by Believe. We appreciate all of you joining us. For me, for John, for Jerry, for Muki Hawkins. Go Bills.
Go Bills.
Much love. Go Bills.
Go Bills.